Black History Month isn't just about remembrance, it's about reflection. It asks us, how do we respond when life changes without our permission? Where do we turn for strength when the path ahead isn't clear? How do we care for our bodies, minds, and spirits during seasons of transition? Well, hello and welcome back to the Life Strategies Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Jones, and as we step into the month of February, we also step into Black History Month. Black History Month is a time that invites us not just to remember history, but to reflect on it, to learn from it, and to allow it to shape how we live today. Here at the Life Strategies, we talk a lot about life transitions. You know, those moments when life changes direction and we're invited into a new season. And as I reflected on Black History Month this year, one thing became abundantly clear. Black history is filled with life transitions, deep, difficult, courageous transitions, many of which were not chosen, yet still became pathways to purpose, resilience, and hope. Today, I want to explore that connection with you, not as a history lesson, but as a life lesson. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's walk through this together. When we think about Black history, we often think in terms of events, dates, and movements. But behind every movement were individual lives, people navigating enormous transitions. Transitions like being uprooted from everything familiar, having identity defined by others, being told who you could or could not become, and still choosing to move forward. These were not abstract transitions, they were deeply personal. A life transition is any moment when who you were no longer fits who you are becoming. Black history reminds us that those moments are often uncomfortable, painful, and uncertain. Yet, they are also where courage is forged. Think about Harriet Tubman. Her transition from enslavement to freedom was not just physical, it was spiritual, emotional, and purposeful. She didn't simply escape bondage, she stepped into calling. And that's something we often overlook about transitions. They are rarely just about survival. They're about becoming. One of the most powerful through lines in Black history is faith. Faith wasn't just something people believed. It was something they leaned on during uncertainty. When Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. stepped into leadership, he wasn't stepping into comfort. He was stepping into danger, resistance, and constant pressure. And yet, his leadership was rooted in moral clarity and spiritual conviction. That's something we can all relate to. Because life transitions often come with questions like, am I strong enough for this? What if I fail? What if this costs me more than I expect? Faith doesn't remove the fear, but it gives us a reason to keep moving forward anyway. And sometimes, the transition itself is the invitation. An invitation to trust more deeply, an invitation to clarify our values, or an invitation to walk in alignment with who we truly are. Another powerful lesson for Black history is the importance of generational transition. Stories passed down, wisdom shared across time, strength inherited even when circumstances change. Black families have long understood that survival isn't just about the present. It's about preparing the next generation. Writer and poet Maya Angelou spoke so beautifully about rising, again and again, no matter what life brings. Her words remind us that healing is not linear, growth is not instant, and resilience is something we practice, not something we're born with. In our own lives, we experience generational transitions too. Becoming the caregiver instead of the one being cared for, watching children become adults, navigating aging, loss, or reinvention, honoring where we've been while preparing for where we're going is one of the most meaningful things we can do. Black History Month isn't just about remembrance, it's about reflection. It asks us, how do we respond when life changes without our permission? Where do we turn for strength when the path ahead isn't clear? How do we care for our bodies, minds, and spirits during seasons of transition? Because transitions don't just happen externally, they affect us internally. That is why faith, community, and healthy daily practices matter so much. They become anchors when life feels unsteady. And history reminds us that progress, personal or collective, rarely happens all at once. It happens through small, faithful steps forward. As we move through this month, I want to gently invite you to reflect on your own journey. Ask yourself, what transitions have shaped me? What season am I in right now? And what might faith, hope, and love look like in this chapter of my life? Black history teaches us something profound, that even when transitions are hard, even when they're painful, they can still lead to purpose. And sometimes, the bravest thing we can do is keep becoming. Thank you for spending this time with me today, and as always, I wish you faith, hope, and love on your journey. Bye for now. I'll see you next time.